so they could jump in. I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see. It's all good.
Cool. Yeah. So, hi everyone watching at home. I'm Dan. Um, this is JavaScript, formerly JavaScript Tuesday, now JavaScript Enabled. Thank you to Jamal for coming up with that name. Um, so cool. The plan was to look at our Trello board and sort of come up with some user stories and have people take assignments for the React stuff. But we don't have great turnout, so I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Thomas, what's new with you? Just tell us what's going on in your JavaScript world.
Yeah, so since the last meeting, I haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I'd like to it, but I was working on some React tutorials. I went through some of the beginning parts of the official React docs, went through their first couple tutorials on there, and it was pretty helpful. I supplemented that with some of the beginning egghead.io tutorials. The free one, I think it's called React Fundamentals, and that was actually very helpful, especially if you've seen the docs or have gone through some other tutorial a little bit under your belt, because it goes pretty quickly,
Okay.
but it's in really nice bite-sized chunks. So yeah, and then other than that, I've just been looking at as many blogs and stuff about it and trying to do a little stuff on the side. Work has been kind of crazy this week, so that's kind of sucked up a lot of my free time that I thought I was going to have to do more React, to actually build something with it. But I mean, I feel it's pretty straightforward once you go through a couple little tutorials with it. So I think it'll be very nice for this project.
Good. That's good to hear. So I've been going hard on Angular for work this week. So I also just sort of like read about React and didn't really build anything with it, which is shameful as the as the leader of the group. But I assumed more people would come in with some knowledge. I will say I still need to finish the README for the group. So I'm going to put that on the Trello board. And Thomas, if you want to, not in the public forum, but if you just want to shoot me your email address, maybe on the Slack channel, I can add you to the Trello board. So Saran set up a new Trello system for us. And Catherine and Jeremy also, if you would like to work on the project, just let me know your email address for the Trello board. And then if any of you are not already on the JavaScript GitHub team, then let me know and I can add your GitHub handle as well. So I'm going to add, and here's a link to the board so we can all look at it. And I'm going to add a card, write README for project. And
So there is a new GitHub project started, or is there a page for it for this new one yet?
I think I did at least create a repo. Let me see. View profile, no. Newbie mapper. Yeah, here it is. There's nothing in it though, but you can have the
Okay.
link if you want.
Yeah, at least that way, so I can. I mean, I'm sure I'll get it anyway, but that way I've got it. I can go ahead and bookmark it.
Oh, awesome. DM from Catherine. Yeah, I will take care of that when the meeting's over. So, all right. So I put my own responsibility on the board, and I'm going to add a due date for Saturday at noon, so that I take care of that this weekend. Something else I was going to tell the whole group. I'll said I know people are going to watch this after it's over. Jay Miller has been putting together some cool Saturday discussions. Hopefully, you've all been following Saturday discussions on the Slack channel. And I think this weekend, Saran's going to be talking about Git, which she did for the JavaScript group for our last project, and it was awesome. So if you have the chance to check that out, I will. I'm going to send out the link inside in the Slack channel after this is over, so that it's usually Saturday mornings. I think it's like 9 o'clock for me on the West Coast, so probably like 11 o'clock or noon on the East Coast, where more of you are. So, Thomas, have you worked with Git before? Do you know it?
Yeah, I have mostly on a uh, solo basis. I
Mm-hmm.
actually do some of it like Subversion actually for work for some other things. Their process is kind of different, so I don't know how much of that's going to translate. So that was part of what I was reading up this weekend too, was going through the links on the old JavaScript Tuesday repo to go through and make sure that I've got all the right processes down.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I think the idea is we'll have like a Git homepage so people can learn about Git, at least. Um, that's my thinking. If not a homepage, then at least like a repo on GitHub where everyone can like find those resources. Um, yeah, and then Saran's gonna have her talk this weekend, so hopefully you can make that
Mm-hmm.
because it was super helpful. Or watch the Hangouts now that we're doing Hangouts. Cool. All right. I don't know quite what else to talk about. Um, if we don't have enough people here to really like get critical mass on this project, and then also um, actually like assign out some tasks, and also like didn't do our homework on React. Catherine or Jeremy, if you wouldn't mind chiming in the chat room, just with like, have you been working on React? If you haven't, it's totally fine. Obviously, like what's your knowledge um, of the framework that we're going to be using? Especially Jeremy, I don't think I've seen you here before. Hopefully they'll.
Sorry, I just lost my connection for a little bit. I'm back.
Oh, no worries. I was just asking what the other folks had experience with for. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. That's totally cool. Are there any particular resources you were looking at? Okay, so Jeremy, you're more just at this point focused on general JavaScript and that sort of thing. Um, Let me know like what you're doing. We got a lot of free code camp people love to hang out here. I don't know if that's something that that you're doing. Oh, Udacity course on JS design patterns. Cool. Yeah, a former colleague of mine took that course and said it was awesome. Highly recommends it.
Yeah, I'll echo what Catherine's saying there. I mean, I haven't jumped into the Udacity course yet, but that's something design patterns in general. That's what I've been wanting to get into, and I'm a free code camp person too. So anybody watching or Jeremy, that's was a good place to start. They just redid a lot of their curriculum too,
I heard.
so I actually like it a lot more now than it was at first, and I thought it was fine at first. So definitely recommend that to get some good JavaScript knowledge going because it's all JavaScript basically.
Cool. Yeah, you can be a full stack developer with just JavaScript these days. Um, so it's a um, great resource. Started there. Enjoyed Code Academy. Yeah, Code Academy they got a really solid program. I actually started learning Angular on Code Academy, so that was fun. So the thing about design patterns is that all these frameworks like sort of force you to use the design pattern. So they'll be good learning tools. Um, cool. Oh, cool. So you're working developer. cool. Um, this is very strange. I wonder. I hope the chat is also being recorded so people can read along as it's happening. Otherwise, it'd be super weird if I'm just talking to myself. um, okay. Cool. So it seems like we're all a little bit too general. So like
Well,
really
I have a
haven't.
general question
What's that?
from a project perspective, and maybe we were going to go over this, but um, I wasn't around for the original Hangman project. So what type of like planning, not only just using the Trello board, but as far as, uh, like UI, UX sort of, or just general stuff at the beginning, do we do?
Mhm.
Is that something you were going to sign out, or is that something we were going to do as a
I think it's
team?
something we should talk about. Maybe that is a task that someone here could take on for next week, which is we need mock-ups, right? We need to be working towards something at least for um, well, always, but for the early stages, we really, what we have on the Trello board right now is that we want code newbies mapped by metro area and a meetups API so people can find meetups close to them and then the idea is eventually people will be able to contact each other and make plans directly to go to meetups or to get together at a library or whatever it is. So we do need like a mock-up. We need to know what we want it to look like. Um, and I don't know if anyone here has like that sort of knack for design. I'd love to assign that out to someone so you can come back with some ideas next week. Um, but yeah, so that is one thing that we'll need. The other, I guess you were just sort of like, is that sort of what you were asking? Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah, just in general, because like I wasn't, I guess, exactly sure what you were going to sign out. If it was going to be more, okay, you work on this specific piece, like code-wise, if it was all going to be code, you know,
Mhm.
assignments, or if it was going to be, okay, somebody, maybe there are some code assignments, but then somebody else, work on a mock-up or work on
Yeah,
something else outside of the
yeah,
code per
absolutely.
se.
Some ideas I had for projects for well to write user stories, right? So like as a code newbie, I want to add myself to the map. As a code newbie, I want to take myself off the map, right? Because we want, you want it to work both ways. I want to change my location. Um, I want to write a profile for myself. So those sorts of stories you parcel out. You separate them as user stories and then assign them to people, and we work out the dependencies. And then I was also thinking like someone could write an API wrapper for Meetup because they have an API, but then for these frameworks, and I don't know React well enough, but I know like Angular, for instance, you can write a service that just does nothing but talk to an API and give you properly formatted responses. So that sort of thing would be. I haven't. I was looking through the React docs earlier today, and I couldn't figure out exactly how that works in React, but I'll get there eventually. Did you notice from the tutorial like anything in that vein of like how to work with an API?
Yeah, I mean at least in the part I was looking at, I mean the basic, if you're just using just vanilla React more or less, it looked like in the main tutorial it was basically just using jQuery to grab from JSON
Did
was
you
pretty
to
much it.
do Ajax requests?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So
And
I don't
then
know. I mean, there could be. I'm sure there's other probably libraries that go along with it that make it easier, and that's something I could certainly look into, or I could just look into writing some sort of a API wrapper myself for this project.
cool. Yeah, I mean it'd be nice. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the state of the component. What's in the library, like what's already been written for React. But
Right.
it might be nice to try writing our own API wrapper, even if one does exist. It's not great engineering, but we're here to learn how to do stuff, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
a good task. So hmm. All right. Does anyone want to take like Thomas? Do you want to try to accomplish that for next week, or
Yeah.
is that like a little too ambitious? Yeah.
No, I can. I'll take that on. If it starts getting a little crazy, I'll see if there's. I'll also look in to see if there's other libraries or helpers out there that sort of already do this thing.
Okay.
And then, depending on what I find, we could always just do one ourselves as well. So I'll take it on.
Okay. Cool. So I put it on the card on the Trello board. Um, and are you in? Were you on the other Trello board?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, send me your direct message me your email,
Yeah.
not in your private channel, and I'll add you and I'll assign it to you. And then the way that the Trello board works is if you're looking at it, it's in right now the card is in next up. When you start working on it, move it to in progress, and then when you're done and you've submitted the pull request, add it to code review. And then next week when we come back, we can talk about things that need to be code reviewed, things that are in progress. We can talk about where people stand. We can decide what our next actions are. So that is how to use the Trello board if you haven't used one before.
Sounds good.
Cool. Um, all right. So I'm going to finish the README. You're going to work on. Oh, thank you for that. You're going to work on an API wrapper, and hopefully we'll have that component next week and more people around to talk to.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Does Thomas, you or Jeremy or Catherine, anything that you wanted to chat about briefly? Like it's a short one. We don't have a ton to talk about, so but we can always stay and talk a little longer.
um, I guess just a general question because I've done like a very little bit of Angular 2 from Free Code Camp. What are your thoughts on Angular and how do you think that compares to? I mean, you haven't looked at React that much, so probably can't compare it to React right now. But if you've worked on other JavaScript frameworks, like what do you like, dislike, use it for, etc.?
Sure. So to be clear, like I'm not an expert on Angular, but I have at least built some things with it, as opposed to React, where I've just read and haven't built anything. But the difference that I see is Angular has a lot more baked in, where it seems like React you need to like install your own components to it. That's the impression I'm getting just from doing the reading.
Yeah.
Angular is very picky. It's heavily it wants you to inject all your dependencies really explicitly, which means you have this entire and I might be doing it wrong. Like honestly, it's so convoluted. I'm like, am I just doing it wrong? But it's sort of if you have something that you want to grab from an API, and then it moves through this service, and then it goes into a directive, and then you put it on the page, and so you have this whole little pipeline where this same variable is sort of being handed from one object to the next, and then you have to like inject all those dependencies manually. And if you're missing one step, then the whole thing just fails silently because it's JavaScript and everything fails silently.
Yeah.
So that's been my experience with Angular. I mean, I like it. I understand why they do it, and it's very, very, very powerful. But it's also just like persnickety as all hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what are you? I'm assuming you're mainly working with not Angular 2, but the older version.
Yeah. Whatever's current. I keep hearing about Angular 2 is it's gonna drop, but I haven't really played with it.
Yeah, and I mean, I always see people complain about 2 versus the older version because of all the things that are changing, and now I'm hearing that they're making it a little bit more backwards compatible. But that's
Yeah, I
about.
have heard that there are plugins you can use for it to make it backwards compatible.
Did I hear you say before too that you used to work at the Odin project?
No, no, no. Well, so I currently work for Viking Code School,
Oh, okay, yeah, that,
the
yeah,
like paid version of the Open project. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So have you done the Odin project? I think they use Backbone. I've
Yeah,
never done any.
I did. I didn't get to the JavaScript parts of the Odin project. I was mainly just going through it for Ruby and Rails, and I did that a while back. I was close to actually doing the code school, Viking Code School, um,
Oh, okay.
but it was I there was a ton of stuff going on with work. There was no way I was going to be able to dedicate that much time and be sane.
Yeah, it's a full
But
time program now, so like you man, like we work really hard. I'm the
yeah,
students work harder than I do, and I feel like I'm working pretty hard.
no, yeah. I remember I talked to what was his name? One of the people from the very first group, just to get his take on it. And I know he was working while he was doing it, and he got through it. But yeah, he said it was
Was it Michael?
yeah, hmm
Okay, yeah, Michael worked. Michael ended up working here too. Brilliant guy. He actually just left a week and a half ago to be a front end engineer
oh wow,
uh, elsewhere here in San Francisco.
oh nice.
So, and then I ran into him on the train on the way home last night, and we caught up. So, yeah, he's a great guy. Like brilliant, totally brilliant. Um, yeah.
No, he was yeah, he was a great guy to talk to. I mean, he took time out of his day to about an hour just to talk to me about random stuff in the code school. So it was really cool.
Oh,
So
cool.
are you more of a Rails like on the Ruby side then, or are you?
Yeah, so I guess I would say primarily I'm a Rubyist and more comfortable in Rails than in Angular right now. Although I'm loving like right now I'm working on a project where you both create a Rails backend and an Angular front end and have them communicate through this API, which is apparently like that's like the state of the art for production apps. And I love it. I get why we do it, but I also do have felt recently like um, I've learned enough about backend. I've learned enough about front end. I'm sort of this like very junior full stack developer, but I kind of do want to choose a specialty, and I kind of do. I think it might end up being the Rails and the back end stuff, um, just because the front end is so. There's a lot of like aesthetic decisions to make, and I don't think of myself as a designer. Maybe like front end engineer is really like they're working off other people's designs. I still need to figure out exactly how the job market works, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So primarily, like I'm more comfortable on the back end, which for now is Ruby. I am intrigued by Node.js because it could combine both, right? Like JavaScript and a back end. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of why I started leaning more towards JavaScript because I've always sort of had a HTML and CSS. I wouldn't consider myself like an expert in it by any means, but I've always had pretty solid grasp on it. And JavaScript was always the one thing that I never really took the time to learn. And then when I saw Node.js was sort of for lack of a better word, Rails of JavaScript. Um, and that I could do sort of everything in one language. That's sort of where I wanted to start and just learn all the way up. And then at some point I want to get back into Rails. I did like it, and Ruby. I mean, it's a lot more nicer, aesthetically pleasing to look at and code in than than
For
JavaScript.
sure.
But you could just do so many things with JavaScript right now, front end, back end. So, and I don't know where I see myself necessarily moving forward. So that's really what I wanted to take, and then that way would help me grasp what I really wanted to do as well moving forward. So
Cool. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, it's just it's so powerful to see on the framework. Oh, Jeremy asked, did a few tutorials with Meteor.js projects. What are your thoughts on that framework? I don't know it well enough. I get the impression that, and you, Jeremy, you probably know better than I do, that Meteor.js is both backend and front end. It's like Rails in that sense. True. Yes. Okay. I thought so. Yeah. So it's interesting because to me that would be like the obvious choice to become an extremely popular framework if I were just sort of like blindly guessing, right? And yet I don't see it taking off the way that Node and Angular and React are. But I don't know. I'm not an expert. What do you think of it? Can you want to? It's still young. Okay. Yeah.
From what I've heard, I mean, people who use it really, really like it. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like it has the user base at this point of other ones. Doesn't mean it's not good. It's just, kind of probably third in line. Well, I mean, maybe even fourth, sort of depending on how much backbone is still being used and stuff. But
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see like when the dust settles on JavaScript, if it ever does. I mean, I get the impression the dust never really settles in the tech industry.
yeah, there'll be 6 more frameworks tomorrow. That will be the next big thing.
Yeah. We need one true framework, so everyone has to create their own. Cool. All right. Do we want to wind down?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and sorry for grilling you on questions earlier.
No, no worries. I'm happy to chat. We're kind of at the end of our natural topics. So, cool. I'm gonna post a link to next week's right away. So add it to your calendars if you can, and then TJ, let me know. Would you go by Thomas or TJ? Sorry.
I go by Tommy, actually.
Tommy. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, let me know if you need any help with that wrapper. If you have any questions, like just DM me during the week, and we'll figure it out. Oh, this is great on Meteor.js if you have the time. A YouTube video. I will. I'm going to post this to the Slack channel. Actually, Jeremy, you're probably in the Slack channel. Why don't you just post this to the Slack channel and say, hey, there's a cool video about Meteor. And then, cool. I will. I'm going to end the call, and then I'll see everybody next week.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.